Hello, I am a real catfish, and in today's video I'm going to be carrying on with that city build from the last video. So, in this build, what I'm going to be doing is building I'm going to call it a concept build. So what I do is I build a base area that's a car park, and then I build one of several skyscrapers. So, that nether portal is the way in and out of this area of the world from my main area. And if you've been on my channel before, you'll know that the nether portals are all connected, obviously, with the nether. And in the nether, I have a bunch of big evil projects going on, which is really cool. So, I quickly move the nether portal up there, and then I build up the walls. So, this build is based upon some of my old builds I had on one of my old worlds, in fact, my first ever city build. So this is, in my old world, my original first ever build. So in that world it was an island, and then this was a separate island that was quite small, that had 3 skyscrapers and then a bunch of houses on it. And I'm going to follow a very similar template with this build, just because I love how that felt. You know, I loved how it looked, I loved how it generally had a kind of good style. So it goes up, the wall gets filled in, and then in this bit I go from one side to the other side and I fill it in with sandstone. Now what I do is I do the /fill command just to make life a tiny bit easier for myself, and then I quickly go through and fill in all the sandstone as I've done here with this video. After filling in this area, I then go through and start making an effort on making the tunnel that allows people to get into the parking area. So when I was first building this area, I wasn't too sure whether or not to leave in the walkway for people to access, but what I think I'm going to do instead is build a couple of stairways up so people can just walk up, kind of thing. I might have 1 or 2 entrances from underneath the floor upwards, kind of thing, but I need to build the buildings first and then I'll get to doing that idea. As you can see, I'm just planning ideas for what the top area is going to look like. So I go with this design, which is very similar to the original, so then it goes over slightly, and then in the holes between it has a bunch of glass, so then it's a kind of skylight type thing, as you can see. I then fill in the floor with black concrete, and originally I was going to use white concrete as the lines, but then I realised I can use carpets and glowstones, or lanterns in this case, to build a light source, so that every single bit has the light source available to it. So as you can see, underneath here it's very dark, but then I add the lanterns and it stops being dark, it starts being a lot more light, a lot more bright, a lot more interesting for people to see. Now don't worry, this entire video won't just be me filling in car park. You do get to see the process of how I'm doing it, which is kind of what I'm after. But this entire video won't just be car park, you will actually see me build a few buildings. So, I also make sure to fill in all the walls as well on the side. This just ensures that it is all filled in nicely, just so it's not a random shape which is difficult to fill in. And to be quite frank, I don't know how I managed to get it shaped perfectly so that it fits so nicely, because every single car parking area has enough room for the car to actually fit, which is really cool. because I was expecting that I'd have to move walls about to make sure it all fit nicely. But no, everything fit perfectly, which was really lucky. I can't tell you how rare it is with a build for everything to fit perfectly first time. And this was one of those wonderful times that every single thing I wanted to happen happened exactly as I wanted it to happen. But this is a really good building technique of basically going through and you add lanterns and you use carpets as your road. Because even if you, for example, use street lamps or street lights or anything like that, they don't actually hit the floor enough because they're up too high sometimes. So this is an easy way to fill in light and area within a build. And one thing I might do after this build is completed, I might go back through and actually add more lanterns underneath the carpet just so it's there. So then this is when I start going back up and actually building the first building. Now, I'm not sure how I originally got inspired to build this build in the first place, but every time I've watched my old video and looked at my old world and checked out my old builds, I've always just loved this build because it's just such a nice and... It's a simple design, but it's such a good design. And this is the third ever proper skyscraper I ever made. So for a third attempt at a skyscraper, I'm really pleased. In my next video, you're going to see my second ever attempt at the Freedom Tower. So the first building that was ever a skyscraper was that black and white building to the right, which you can just about see the corner of in this video here. Then the second video I ever made was... Sorry, the second building I ever made was the Freedom Tower. So my second ever build was the Freedom Tower, and then the third ever build was this build here. So what I'm going to do is, in the next video, is I'm going to be making a tutorial for the Freedom Tower, which I think is going to be really cool, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. This isn't really a tutorial. Obviously, if people want me to do tutorials for a build like this, please let me know, because I'm happy to do a tutorial for these kind of builds. You know, for me, I know how to do it, but sometimes it's not always obvious to someone as to how to build this kind of build. But as you can see, the style for this build is it goes ever so slightly outwards as it's going up, but then it gets to a certain point and it stops going outwards, so you can see where it is here. So I go up and then I come along, and then that's where it stops going outwards. It then comes back in at the top, so it makes a kind of... It's a fairly straight tower with a slight curve in and out at the start. So you'll see it when we get around to a more frontal view in a moment. But I think it's a really cool design that can fit with both a modern city and an old-fashioned, like futuristic city almost as well. Because it has a mixture. It's a good in-between because it's... You can add things to make it look more futuristic. Like that front area there, that could be an elevator, for example, like on the outside of the building. But as you can see here, the building curves out and inwards again, which is a really cool shape. What should be the next building I build on this part of the map? Let me know in the comments below, guys, yeah? So then what I do is I come back up, I fill in all the glass, and then once the glass is filled in, I start going about with half quartz blocks, and I ensured that all the glass is covered by the half slab quartz. Christ, that was a mouthful. The quartz slabs, there you go, that's what I meant to say. So as you can see, it comes up, and then that's the central bit where it needs to stop going outwards. So I get up to that area there. I then go through and I fill in all this area here. And as you can see, because I'm going up and it's going back in, it's a lot easier to fill in. Now, one of the things I love about this build here is it's just an impressive size. Like, it's not too big to be overbearing on other builds, but it's not too small to be underwhelming. It's a good in-between where it's big enough to be noticed, but not so big to be the most noticed build. You know, for example, the Freedom Tower, which you'll see in the next video as a tutorial, that building is huge, and that is a genuine attention grab. You know, when you think, oh yeah, let's think about what I'm going to look for, that's one of those builds that you can look at and go, wow, that is a huge build. You know, that's something I'm wanting to look at. Whereas this build, it's an impressive build, and if you want to look at it, it's one of those builds that fits nicely into places. You know, it looks good, but it's not too much. Which, as I say, is a wonderful thing for a build. As you can see, filling in glass. With these builds, I don't usually fill in floors myself. However, what I do is, off camera, I will be filling in the floors just so they have a colour or they have a filling. So I'm filling in the roof here, just because I always fill in the roofs, obviously. And then you can see this is where I start adding the quartz slabs, just to make life easier for myself. So then, when these quartz are filled in, I have completed the skyscraper. As I say, off camera, I will finish off the build, so that will be finishing off filling in floors and stuff like this. I also moved the nether portal down into the car park, because I feel that that's more where it would best fit. And then here's me just giving a little wave, and then a quick view of the actual build. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you and goodbye.